A lesson in maturity quickly approaches Yuta Sagawa's life when parenthood unexpectedly knocks on his door. The adoption papers you didn't know you had, your little apartment, and your adult responsibilities, because it's time to dive into the exciting world of dad life. Wow. I'm not going to try to spoil the ending. Come on, just subscribe. Yuta Sagawa starts his first year of college and gets a part-time job to support himself financially without any help. In his first days, he meets Raika Oda. When she hands him a pamphlet, UTA is left, dazzled by her beauty. When he has not yet spent 3 months at the university, UTA starts drinking until he gets drunk and falls asleep. But he is rudely awakened by Shuntaro Sako, accusing him of having done something terrible and obscene with Oda-kun, who seems to be acting under duress and pretends to be sad. So, Sako forces Yuta to make up for the damage he has caused. But immediately, Nishiproda realizes that the whole situation is staged and is part of a trick. At that moment, Kyoji shows up to stop the situation, and Raika does her part by silencing Sako, who insists on the deception. Kyoji explains to Yuta that they always do the same thing, as it's their way of welcoming students to the tourism club. Later, in a phone call with his older sister named Yuri, Yuta mentions that he's hanging out with Kyoichi, who lives in a house, in exchange for cooking for both of them without paying rent. Yuri, for her part, confesses that she has married a man named Shingo-san, who has 2 daughters, and it would be nice if he went to visit them. On the other hand, we can see Sora, Yuri's stepdaughter, who at school says she rejects boys her age. Well, she seems to be in love with Yuta, of whom she has a photo on her phone. At the same time, when Yuri tells her that they are going on a trip with Shingo, and that's why they will leave them in charge, with her uncle Yuta Sora, is having a crisis because she feels like she's gotten too close to the arrow. And that's why she hasn't had time to start the diet. And to be pretty for Yuta, at the university, Kyoichi warns Yuta that he understands his crush on Raika, but that he should let her go, as he has investigated her. And he has discovered that the girl excels in every aspect of her life. But still, no guy has approached her, which must mean she's a bit of a weirdo. This only catches Yuta's attention, who runs to the tourism club to spend more time with her. At the university, our protagonist runs into his sister, who has come earlier and brought him a giant bag, filled with things for Yuta. Once at the apartment, Yuri begs her younger sister to visit her and her daughters on Sunday, but without revealing her true intention. After a bit of manipulation from Yuri, our protagonist agrees to go. Once Yuta arrives home, he finds that his sister and her husband have left. And now he has to be the babysitter for Hina, Mio, and Sora, until they come back. At first, the situation gets out of hand for him. From the hands, because the girls are noisy and really excited about their uncle's visit. But then he manages to balance the situation and starts getting along well with his younger nieces. However, his first encounter with Sora becomes a bit awkward. After the first awkward encounter with Sora, the girl feels offended and does not want to engage in any conversation with her uncle. Despite his repeated apologies and attempts to improve their relationship that started so badly, Mio and Hina are excited about the visit and reintroduce themselves to Yuta, updating him on their ages and the activities they do. Something quite useful. But it would be more useful for me if you could tell me in the comments how Christmas was, since for me it's the 25th. I don't know when this will be uploaded, but... And while you're at it, give me a like and subscribe. That would really help me a lot. Shuntaro seems to get along great with the younger nieces, but he doesn't quite understand how to connect with the youngest one. While they are playing a video game, Yuta beats Hina, who starts crying uncontrollably. Then Sora comes to comfort her and takes revenge by beating her uncle in the video game. During lunch, which by the way was for me since Yuta isn't good in the kitchen, the girl asks very directly while looking at her sister, as it seems she knows her secret. And she asks if her uncle has a girlfriend, which makes both of them uncomfortable. At the table, the negative response relaxes Sora. But Mio bets on more and discovers that Yuta is already in love with the girl, but he doesn't pay her any attention. After lunch, Yuta and Sora start to get along a little better. And after the exhaustion of taking care of the girls all day, Yuta falls asleep. He wakes up to the screams of his sister-in-law, who doesn't recognize him and starts chasing him around the house, thinking he has harmed her daughters. However, once Yuri removes the wig he had placed on her while sleeping, Shingo, he apologizes, as he wasn't aware that he would be taking care of his daughters with that problem already solved. And he notices that his brother has taken very good care of the girls. So he thinks he's ready to take care of them for a few more days and asks him to look after them. While she and Jingo are on a business trip for a week, the girls also join in the request and beg him to take care of them. This way, her sister can take a few days off, and another option is to take care of them for a few days while Yu brings the girls to life. And everything seems to be going well when a meteor shower occurs. And the next day, Yuri and Shingo's family learns that the plane they were on has crashed and they are presumed missing. Following the accident, the children's families are trying to figure out how to care for their sisters, as their parents are no longer present or unable to care for them. The only solution they find is for each of them to live with a different relative to provide what they need, but the kids, They don't want to be separated because they want to stay together. Yuta, who is present in the decision-making, remembers a similar situation from years ago when they wanted to separate him from his sister Yuri. He suggests that the three girls come live with him so they can be together. Even though our dog doesn't have much money and lives in a pretty small space, despite the resistance from the relatives to the idea that Yuta proposes of being the new guardian of his nieces, the four characters decide to flee in the morning straight to the protagonist's house. That's why when the relatives arrive at the house where Yuri's daughters lived, they find it empty. He walks to Yuta's house and asks his uncle if he regrets the decision he made, because they basically ignored everything the rest of their relatives said, who are older and therefore know better how to react to these matters. And amidst laughter, he replies that it's true, but he doesn't regret it. The four of them seem to be okay with this new situation. Our protagonists take a long walk through the city, avoiding restaurants since it's Sunday and all the places are packed with happy families. And Yuta thinks this might affect his nieces since they'll remember their parents. They end up eating at a karaoke place because the prices are affordable for Yuta. And at that moment, they run into Kyoji, to whom he explains the situation and the new way of life he will be leading. Yuta! From now on. While they are talking, Noe Obrota gets a call from one of the relatives, and he has to answer, so Kyoichi decides to lend a hand and take care of the girls while his friend is on the phone. The phone conversation turns hostile when Yu's aunt questions her decision to take care of the three girls. If she decides to have a job to support us, she must leave college. And that's something Yuri wouldn't like. His aunt then pressures him to decide right then and there if he can take care of his nieces, because if not, his job is to return them to their relatives to avoid causing them more pain. This greatly discourages Yuta, who starts to doubt, but nonetheless, he decides to stick with his decision, and they all head together to his apartment. Once they're in the apartment, they start settling in and fixing all the shortcomings that a small place can offer a family that is now 4 times bigger. With the few things they have on hand, they manage to make the tiny space a comfortable place for the 4 of them, who from now on will have to learn to live together. However, despite these new adventures, Sora and Mio are deeply hurt by the death of their parents. But they work together to hide their pain and the whole situation from her, who is still unaware of what happened and who believes that her parents went on a trip very far away for a while. The 2 older sisters support each other in this horrible situation. Meanwhile, Yuta also does his part, lending a shoulder to Gerard and looking after them like an older brother. Even though he's okay with his decision to take care of his nieces, Yuta is going through significant changes, and that makes him reflect. He lost his parents as a child and had to take care of his sister, older, to what he recently lost. He had planned to finally enjoy their lives alone and fall in love with a girl, but instead he's now in charge of 3 girls. Fortunately, the 2 older sisters are mature enough to lend a hand in living together. When Yuta leaves for work, the 3 girls find the bill for the groceries he bought to feed them, and they start to worry about their financial situation. On his way to work, Yuta meets the 3 members of the tourism club, who pretended to meet him by chance, although the raid was planned. However, when he tells them that he's been busy and that's why he hasn't been able to attend the club, Shantaro tells him that he can't allow the tourism club members to miss out. That's why Yuta and Kyoichi ask Raika to distract Shantaro, who can't find out. That he can't find out under any circumstances about the presence of the girls, as it poses a potential danger to them. With the help of his friend Yuta, he manages to escape without revealing the new changes in his life. Did you get in? Meanwhile, in their new home, the 3 sisters, worried about Yuta's expenses, decide to help with the household chores. So they go to a laundromat to wash the clothes and then buy vegetables to prepare dinner, always concerned about the costs since they only have the money their parents left them before they left. Once back from shopping, Miu, Hina, and Sora decide to decorate the apartment, but one disaster after another ends up happening. The walls are covered in permanent marker, the food is a disaster, and the 3 girls are scattered around with bumps and bruises from their antics. Nayuta calls to let them know he'll be home late because he's working a double shift. The girls decide to surprise him with a meal to thank him for everything he's doing for them. However, the oldest, Sora, it's Sora who offers to cook. She has only helped Yuri with a few meals and doesn't really have much idea of how to do things. Despite our little one's good intentions, not only is the dinner a disaster, but the kitchen is also suffering from the smell of burnt food and splatters everywhere. At the height of the disaster, Yuta opens the door and sees what's happening, so he scolds the girls. Since they have put themselves in danger by using fire and doing tasks they don't know how to do without adult supervision. However, after the kitchen incident, when he happily gulps down his food, she gives him a strawberry cake and admits that she's very happy to have someone to see her off. In the mornings. That night, Sora expresses her worries about their finances and Yuta comforts her, telling her that they'll get through it and that starting the next day, he will begin to save. Towards the end of the chapter, Sora confesses to Yuta that she is in love with him. Yuta goes to work and forgets his phone, and at that moment, Shuntaro calls to inform him about a new job offer, but accidentally the girls answer, and Mio has to respond. When Shuntaro asks who answered, the girl explains the whole situation, that she is Yuta's niece and that she is staying at his house during the holidays. Shuntaro feels strongly attracted to Mio after hearing her voice and surprisingly imagines her as an angel, wondering what she looks like. Raika, who is in the room with her partner when the call happens and hears the conversation, hits him repeatedly. Well, she doesn't think what Shuntaro just said is right. Once the call is over, Sora heads to Yuta's workplace to bring him his phone, and he thanks her for bringing it up to him once they were outside, recalling the idea about organizing the house that he had suggested. Mio decides to check out some hardware stores and buys materials to bring her design to life. On her part, after Sora leaves to deliver Yuta's phone, Mio and Hina meet their neighbor Kurumi Ataraje, who shows up at their door with a watermelon to share, after mentioning in a conversation that she's living with Yuta for the summer. And then discovering that Kurumi does one of the voices for the show Ferido de Hina Luna Luna 7. The neighbor leaves as a dark and dangerous storm brews. Sora gets lost after taking the wrong bus and running out of battery on her phone. Yuta finds out that Sora is lost when he calls Mio and heads out to look for her with his friend Oji. On the way, Sora remembers her first meeting with Yuta, which ended with her calling him Onijan, meaning my older brother, a more personal honorific than Oji-san, which is little uncle. Just at that moment, Yuta comes running in, feeling happy and relieved to find his niece safe and sound. Remembering their first meeting together, Yuta agrees to let Sora call him Onijan from that moment on. That night, Yuta agrees to let her call him Onijan and that he only has a part-time job in a strawberry factory, on the recommendation of his friend Shuntaro. Even though they've been living together for a while now, Yuta still struggles with taking care of Hina, who is still very little and needs more attention. And he helps with basic tasks like bathing. Fortunately, Sora is always by his side to lend a hand. The girls ask Yuta to take them to his old house, who is now in charge of the Takanaishi family, to retrieve some personal belongings. However, Sora reveals that she has a key to the house, so if they sneak in quietly and without making noise, there shouldn't be a problem. On the way, Yuta worries that the visit to his old home might remind Hina of her parents and that it could make her sad. However, she seems cheerful, as she is very popular in the neighborhood, greeted by all the neighbors, and even her optimism and tender smile manages to get her fruits from the pea stalls. At the station, Shuntaro, who seems to know Yuta's work schedule perfectly, knows that he isn't working. That day, he calls his friend to invite him over to his home to meet his nieces. Yuta clearly feels uncomfortable with this request, so he invites a response. But Hina is talking on the phone, and that makes Shuntaro even more eager to meet them than before. When Yuta is about to hang up the phone, he hears over the loudspeakers the voice announcing the train and the station, information that reaches the ears of the club leader. Once in the neighborhood where the girls were born, the three girls run into some old acquaintances who ask about their whereabouts as they are puzzled by their sudden disappearance. Miu continues halfway, chatting with old friends and Sora. Later on, he also stops to talk to an old teacher. When the girls get home, Sora and Miu pack their bags in their respective rooms, anticipating that our protagonist will come over. He then takes the opportunity to spend time with Hina, playing to distract her so she doesn't think about her parents. Shuntaro, on the other hand, is obsessed with meeting his friend's nieces, whom he has imagined to be perfect, to the point that he kidnaps Kyoichi to get more information about the girls. Once she finishes organizing her bags, Sora and Yuta prepare dinner for the four of them. Exhausted after such a stressful day, the girls prepare dinner for the four of them, in each of their rooms. However, once everyone is lying down, the three girls appear in Yuta's room. Well, they feel uncomfortable in such a big house after getting used to the comforts of their uncle's place. Before leaving, the sisters take a family portrait from before their parents disappeared. Yuta's aunt visits them to see how the four of them are doing. Knowing that this would happen, the three girls help with the cleaning of the house. They leave it spotless to make a good impression and leave Yuta so he can talk with his aunt. It's clear that she's doing well and has everything under control. However, she warns Yuta that his difficulties will increase when university starts again. Coming back from work during the night shift, Yuta hears Raika acting monotonously as usual, and he approaches her. However, despite being aware that it's a trick to get his attention, he gets distracted and falls into the trap of the tourism club. Then Kyoichi and Shuntaro appear, to see how the trick of the latter had paid off. The goal of all this was planned by Shuntaro, who lured Yuta in order to meet his nieces, since he is hopelessly in love and wants to eat and share space with them. Yuta refuses. However, when Raika asks him if his nieces are cute, Shuntaro, the protagonist, gets nervous and goes ahead to invite her to dinner. Their other two friends join them for dinner. Once they arrive at their house, Sora behaves hostilely towards her guests, particularly towards Raika, as she seems to know that she is the girl her uncle likes. Shuntaro shows up with a bouquet of roses and is fascinated to see the two younger sisters who are exactly how he imagined them. However, when he meets Sora, she doesn't seem to catch his attention, as to him she's like a 14-year-old grandma. What did I just read, guys? What did I just read? What am I watching? What? This guy is a P. Anyway, go ahead, subscribe, and leave a like since you're here. At this statement, Rika, who is ecstatic with Sora's beauty, approaches her to reassure her and tells her not to worry, as she has 100% beauty and everything is natural. After dinner, Yuta accompanies Rika for a while, who says that she notices that he has changed for the better and that she hopes that he visits the club from time to time because she misses him. This statement stuns our protagonist, who was not expecting those words, but he acts quickly and asks Rika to teach him how to cook so he can start a relationship with her. Sora, who was so jealous of the situation, joins in to ask Rika to teach him how to cook as well, to which she kindly agrees. In the middle of the kitchen, Yuta has to leave for work and leaves the two girls talking alone, trying to figure out the relationship she has with her uncle and Rika. Sora gets distracted and spills a large amount of flour all over herself and Rika, forcing them to take a bath. Sora is even more jealous of Rika's perfection. However, during the bath, they manage to have a conversation. Rika makes Sora laugh, making her feel comfortable and happy in her company. However, the calm doesn't last long, as Mio and Hina show up to join the bath. When Ayuta gets back home, the girls discuss their plans for the school semester, but they're interrupted by the landlady's daughter, she's scolding Yuta for violating his rental agreement. That states how many people can live with him. She then gives him a month to vacate the place. Yuta starts looking for an apartment, but all the offers turn out to be extremely high, and it becomes difficult for him to find something that fits his budget. On the way, he runs into Rika, who upon hearing the situation offers to let the girls live with her. This unleashes Yuta's imagination, who builds his world internally. Perfect, where he and Rika are a couple and take care of the three girls who call them mom and dad. Just as our expert comes out of his fantasy, Rika offers to help him look for a new apartment, along with the other members of the tourism club and Sora. He also joins the hunt. The current situation has Yuta extremely worried, so he begins to fail at his work, making simple mistakes and knowing that it is not what he wants. He is afraid of being late for work, affecting every area of his life. When classes start, he plans to stop working to take care of Hina so that Mio and Sora could attend school. But the idea is far from reality, since if he does not work, he has no financial support to support himself. The search for a new apartment becomes tough, as none of the offers seem to meet Yuta's few requirements. Either they are too small for 4 people, or there are spirits roaming at night when they finally find a nice one. Yuta decides they can rent the place if he takes another job. Fortunately, he has Sora by his side, who gives him a bit of clarity about what a crazy idea. The landlord comes to reason, telling him that he can barely manage with his 2 current jobs and that he needs to sleep and go to university. So it's not a wise decision to want to get another job. Meanwhile, the landlady Midori Kawasako, who seems to be too strict, scolds Kurumi for being late with the rent. And then he makes Hina cry, causing her to leave, freezing herself and the landlady. Because of this, and feeling guilty for what happened, Midorikawa takes the girls to her house so that she and Hina can take a bath. While this is happening, Mio explains the situation they are in, asking her to forgive their uncle if they leave. The landlady seems to soften a bit at the story. However, she points out that she doesn't think it's right for a university student to have to make signs, as he doesn't have the necessary resources. This provokes Mio's anger, and she says that she's fine with him. Rika adds that she really enjoys living this way because it's a lot of fun. Just at that moment, Yuta returns to ask Midorikawa to postpone the eviction date to have more time to sort out his situation. The girl's mother appears, the one from before, who is the actual owner and the person the girls talk to every time they go shopping. Now that she knows their situation and is charmed by Hina, Midorikawa's mother cancels the eviction and drafts a new rental contract. Towards the end of the episode, the 2 older sisters are already attending school and Hina has her first day of kindergarten, in what seems to be already very popular. Classes begin, and Sora and Mio try to adjust to their long commutes, crowded trains, and masses of people pushing them regardless of their size. They always arrive right on time, running between trains as they have an hour of travel from their new home to school. Despite being good at sports and dedicating most of her time to schoolwork, Mio has trouble at school due to exhaustion and even ends up falling asleep during recess. Also, worried about the cost of vegetables, she starts eating meals at school that she doesn't like, because it's the only way to access something so expensive at a time when she seems to be asleep. Kay, like her classmates, they see the efforts she's making and feel sorry for her because of the situation she's living in. And above all, because her parents have disappeared. This greatly depresses Mio, who doesn't like at all that her classmates feel sorry for her. After school, Mio decides not to go straight home, but to take a walk. It's during this time that she runs into Kyoji, who invites her on a date and takes her around the city, bringing her to the aquarium and then inviting her to lunch, covering the expenses himself. At the restaurant, the girl asks how her uncle is really handling all these new responsibilities he has to take on, and she receives from Kyoji a comforting response, knowing that all of Yuta's classmates, especially those in the tourism club, are always supporting him as they can see the tough situation he's going through. Fortunately, Nishiproda is an optimistic person and well liked by everyone, so he knows he will be able to get through this. It's happening. Fortunately, Nishiproda is an optimistic person and well liked by everyone, so he knows he will be able to get through this. After the meal at the mall, Kyoichi manages to fix Miu's shoes, and after they get ruined on a crowded train. Miu tells her companion about her problems and how embarrassed she is that her life evokes pity. Kyoichi responds that her misfortune is the cause of the pity and that there's nothing wrong with being herself. Joking around, Mio and Kyoji call each other prince and princess, and they decide to end the date when playfully the girl gives Kyoji a little push. Comforted, Mio returns home and pets Sora, who has let her wander around the city, creating new secrets between them and strengthening their sisterly bond even more. Sora and Mio are having trouble balancing their lives. The time it takes them to get from their home to school is taking away too many study hours, and their grades are dropping. In the same way, they have to leave before classes, and therefore they can't be at 100% in the activities they enjoy, as exhaustion takes away their energy for physical activities. Because of this, Sora decides to quit the choir to better dedicate herself to household chores, but she can't help feeling down about the decision. At dinner, the girls tell their uncle that in the latest episode of Luna Luna 7, the character, Kurumi, is defeated, which is why she has lost her job as a voice actress. This explains why Yuta found her drunk on the apartment stairs all night. She knows how to look for new roles, but Kurumi hasn't had much luck and is even feeling discouraged because if she doesn't find work, she has promised the Piyas parents who would go back to the countryside with them. Yuta tells Sora that tonight Raika will take care of dinner. Sora accepts Raika and bites his teeth for being worse than Raika, but decides to take a break. However, everything costs money. Eating a cake costs the same as 5 cartons of eggs, and magazines also need to be glued, so she ends up playing with a puppy but finds herself alone and feeling down in the park. At that moment, Raika appears unexpectedly, noticing that Sora looks worried and asks, "What's wrong?" But Sora, not wanting to upset her, decides to lie, saying that everything is fine. However, the kind Raika keeps insisting. Well, she wants to help her, and she offers her arms to cry on. Once again, calm, Raika takes Sora to her house, and she cooks for everyone in the house. The dinner turns out exquisite, and Raika has prepared extra portions to be able to freeze them and eat them later, giving Sora a kiss on the forehead, who is the one in charge of cooking every night. However, this seems to discourage the girl, as Raika's level is much higher than Sora's. But Raika comforts her, saying that she also couldn't cook very well at first and that soon Sora would improve in the kitchen because she does it from the heart. And to make others happy by walking to the store, Yuta advises Sora to ask. She helps others when they need it and reassures her, telling her that it's not so bad to make mistakes every now and then. After that advice, Sora decides to take a step back from the idea of quitting the choir. And that's why she rejoins, with the great support of the choir president as she considers her essential. Prube acknowledges that she loves her job and finds a role as a supporting voice actor. In those hours, it was after talking to her that she realized how much she loves her job. That night, Sora makes the most exquisite dinner so far. Sora, Mio, and Yuta can't sleep. Sora dreams that she is marrying Yuta, then wakes up scared. On the way to the store, Raika tells Sora that despite being exhausted and falling asleep in class, Yuta feels happy and satisfied with the life he's living, as everything is going well for him as a dad. He adds that when he gets home, seeing the faces of the 3 girls makes him very happy. This makes Sora happy. However, she can't stop constantly fantasizing about being married to Yuta. Mio and Sora continue to have trouble adjusting to the travel times and school activities, and they still struggle to stay awake in class. The house is in a big mess because at the beginning of the semester, everyone is too busy. Later on, Mio finds herself particularly tired and can't even stay awake on the train. Sora gives her some medication to help with her situation. Rai, who insists on being close to Yuta as they miss him in the club and asks him to meet more often. So Yuta manages to get closer to his classmate. Despite being exhausted and swamped with work when he gets home, Yuta surprisingly finds everything in order and can't understand who could have done it. The moment her aunt shows up, Mio and Sora have to pick Haina up from daycare because she has a fever. And even though they try to hide the help, their aunt notices right away and advises them on how to take care of her. In her situation, the woman gets angry and demands that Yuta respond to a letter when they are alone with Sora. Yuta mentions the visit from Aunt. She wants to be aware of everything that happens to the girls, and she scolds Yuta for being so busy with his own things that he doesn't notice the signs his nieces are giving. And it's that Yuta spends so much time at work that he not only misses his classes, but also the 3 girls who are feeling weak, sick, and have been dropping activities without their uncle even noticing. This makes Yuta realize that he is so happy to be a dad that he completely forgot that there are small things to do and take care of that he isn't considering. A situation that makes him feel terrible. He then starts to think about the letter his aunt mentioned and the decision that would make the 3 girls happier. The next day, when Yuta leaves for work again, Sora finds the letter and opens it to learn that her uncle has understood the situation. And she has found out how badly they are doing at Yuta's house. And now he intends to adopt the 3 girls so that they can be better off. But also so that our protagonist stops sacrificing himself to keep them in the picture. Hina still thinks that her parents will come back. Now she decides to take the responsibility of telling Hina that her parents will never come back. And that's what she does in a conversation that leaves everyone in tears and Hina fuming and crying. Well, if she will never see her parents again, it means they broke their promise to see her in her musical. Now he's having a conversation with Uchin at the park, in which he learns that Rei, who asked for help, said that he couldn't be the father of the girls. However, he trusts his friend greatly, which comforts him. After that, Yuta leaves without informing anyone. This leads Sora to follow him, as she wants him to visit her aunt to talk about the letter. However, Loper continues on to the cemetery where he is visiting his sister Yuri's grave. Hiding, Sora listens to what Yuta is saying to his sister, and she reveals herself to confront him about her uncle's letter, saying that she doesn't want him to abandon them and that she wants to keep living with him. Fortunately, Yuta sits down and thinks the same way and expresses his intention to continue as the girl's guardian. Even though he's not the ideal father, this brings Sora to tears of happiness. At that moment, Yuta's uncles appear who overhear the conversation and manage to see the girls. They have really grown fond of her. Happy about the good news and the acceptance from the rest of their family, Yuta and Sora decide to head back home. And along the way, they talk about the loving personality Yuri had when she was Yuta's guardian years ago. This gives Yuta an idea, and he runs to the tourism club. There, he talks to Rika, thanking her for what she told him earlier and understanding that she meant that even though he's not her real father, now it's his turn. Her father... So, Yuta asks Rika if she wants to be his wife. And she agrees, to everyone's surprise, including mine. During Hina's performance in her garden, Yuta convinces his friends and neighbors who adore Hina to attend the show. In that way, he shows Hina her new family. When the girl sees that so many people have come to see her, she gets emotional. And his classmates are surprised by the amount of support, and from the moms and dads that she has as companions. During the beloved endings, Yuta receives the deed to the old house. The girls and the 4 of them empower each other and continue their lives together, always supported by the tourism club and the friends they made along the way. And this is how this exciting story comes to an end. And while we can find more adventures of our favorite family in the form of OVAs and extra chapters, I don't have that much affection for them either. If you like this summary, let me know in the comments, and if you want, you can tell me which is your favorite blended family from the world of anime. And if I see enough support on this video, maybe I'll go ahead and do that. Other summaries about Loba and extra chapters, but only if you want. Now don't forget to subscribe and recommend the channel. As for me, I'll say goodbye until next time. Bye.